my name is Magnus Brehmer, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Michael Barbera, for inviting me for this webinar. The headline for my speech is a post-pandemic consumer universe. We are all aware about the fact that we have never been through a similar situation before. It's a totally new experience for everyone now alive on this planet, which makes it very difficult. We can't ask someone for their experiences or look back to history. So I would like to start by jumping very long forward into the future and listen to a potential quote from a future consumer. Here we have Miss Linda Vision, and we are 20 years ahead of now. It says 2040 there. And she apparently is a European student studying Chinese in the US, just to make sure that we include everyone. Here's what she says. The fact that I can have and afford a global health insurance that secures world-class medical treatment wherever I am, and that I can be guaranteed a positive, even if modest, interest rate on my bank savings might be a no-brainer for kids of today. But people as late as my own grandparents have told me they couldn't. They tell horror stories of no or non-relevant healthcare systems, even negative interest rates on their savings, non-affordable housings, and useless pension plans. Retailers that just sold crap products very cheap, which then ended up in the oceans. But apparently they were great at social media and gaming. Now I know many of you, as well as journalists in TV and various medias, they are discussing when will this be over, when will we go back to normal, and some people thinks that this is not going to be the case. There is not going to be any back to the old days. It's going to be a new normal, and I think they are right. Actually, I think that we will not be able to go back to what we had just a few months ago. Because we have had such fundamental changes going on right now and appearing right now for good and bad. So I think we all need to mentally switch over from before normal to a new normal and approach this new future with excitement and creativity. So what is the challenges then? Well, we have already had, and we have bankruptcies of more and more companies. There I'm a little bit surprised that everyone seems to be totally unaware about the topography of the business life in the world. 95 to 99% of all companies in the world are really small, less than 10 employees. There is actually only 1% of all the companies in most countries that are to be qualified as mid-sized or bigger companies. And those small companies, they don't have liquidity to survive even more than 1 month. They can do 1 month, but after that's salary payments and rents and so on, they are out of money. Very few have more than 3 months liquidity. So it's going to be, I'm afraid that we have only seen the beginning. You also need to realize that there will be a negative domino effect here. Even small companies have at least 5, maybe 10 or 20 suppliers, and they will not be paid 1 month from now. So by the end of May or latest end of June, I think we will have a second wave of a huge amount of bankruptcies, which will then go down to the second point, millions of unemployed. We have only seen the beginning at this moment. And of course, this will also influence and impact us as consumers and our values. And we need to revisit and rethink much of our consumption patterns and what we have been spending money on, especially if we don't have any more income. We will see and continue to see change political priorities. We see all those help packages coming in now from different governments, but this is a totally new situation for them as well. We will also see rapidly sharper climate regulations, especially. I think those are the ones that are most obvious. The climate debate had already started a long time ago. It has been going a little bit up and down the last 5 to 10 years. It has been raised up again. And now I think it will be top on the agenda, even more so for the coming 10 years at least. And there will be both good and bad coming out of this, of course. Good that the attention is there and everybody realizes that this is not a sustainable way. Negative because previously already decided investments in more environmentally friendly and relevant changes to the better might now be pushed back and overtaken of other political priorities with people who need to have food on the table and so on and so forth. There is also a risk that we will see prolonged closure of borders and industries. Many countries now are starting to open up, those who have been locked down. Here in Denmark, they will try to open up quite a lot on Monday this coming week, but at the same time, they decide to keep the borders closed for a while more until they feel more secure. But there are also other countries in the world where the pandemic is not at all as far ahead yet. I think US is only in the beginning so far, for example. So, and then a lot of new restrictions and regulations might come as well. Those are all the challenges and the negative parts. But as always, when change happens and when change strikes, there are also a lot of opportunities coming our way. And here are a few that I think are important for all companies, regardless of industry, to consider. First of all, I think the need for pillow talk, observational research, and conversational listening will increase dramatically. Pillow talk, that is my expression to describe what we think is intimate understanding of the consumers. That is beyond marketing research. You need to be really, really close to the consumers in order to understand their dreams and needs and priorities. And the word, the expression pillow talk is because research shows that the only time during a day where people have possibilities in households to do any sort of planning tend to be in the bedroom just before going to sleep. That is the only moment in today's society where households can do strategic planning, like what shall we do next year? Shall we take the kids to Paris? Shall we buy a new car? Shall we try to find a bigger apartment or similar like that? But also pure operational and tactical challenges like who is picking up the kids after kindergarten tomorrow? Who is doing the weekend shopping? Who will remember to write a greeting card to your parents and so on and so forth. That will also be very important to get into it. I sometimes say, find a legal way of getting in there in between during the pillow talk in order to really understand what people dream about and what they talk about. Observational research, very important. There are only certain things there where we can use traditional marketing research. Those of you who have heard me delivering speeches before, you recognize my sugar example. I often talk about those small paper tubes with sugar that you get at cafes and airplanes and so on. And I ask people, how do you open them? And most people do like this all the time. And I say, liars, I will show you how you open them. You shake the paper tube once or twice first to allocate all the sugar to one side so you don't get it all over you when you rip open it. That is something that we do unconsciously. So despite the fact that I asked you, you lied to me, but not deliberately. Therefore, I think we need to do more of observational research in order to understand consumers on a real deep level, because they don't understand themselves. Or I should say, we don't understand ourselves. Conversational listening also is growing rapidly in importance. That is, for example, then following people, what they are talking about in social media, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. What's trending there? What's the conversations going on? You learn more from those sharp conversations than actually asking people questions. I would argue that following the top 10 Googled items in a market probably tells more than building up your own department for consumer intelligence and keep track on those things. I also think that we will see a future with adult Pester Power. Pester Power we usually use in order to describe children pulling their parents' legs wanting to go to McDonald's. That's Pester Power. I think we might see a development after the pandemic where that behavior is moving up in age, and where we will see also grown-up people start practicing Pester Power. This morning on the TV news here in Denmark, where I'm based, there was an older lady living close to the beach, being interviewed about the coming summer season and what she thought about going to the beach. And she said, I will not accept any other people interfering with my 2-meter or 6-foot radius. I will bring my own fence in that case down to the beach. I think there might be a risk that we will see more policing among adult people to each other, and especially in public places, public transportations, on the bus, in the subway, and those kind of things, which will create opportunities, of course, for companies that realizes this and then tap into how to use that for their own purposes. I also want to point out that well over 50% of the companies will survive and prevail. Now that's a scary low number, and I deliberately put it like that. Probably, hopefully, there will be at least 80% of the companies surviving this tragic situation. But it is serious, and that's my point. We have never, ever stopped the world economy totally as we have done now. And the liquidity in the companies are just not there. It's the big infrastructural important companies like airline companies and so on. They will get subsidies from the governments and so on. But like I said in the beginning, 95 to 99% of all the companies are really small. And there we will have a lot of people who now find that they cannot, for the first time in their life, provide for their families. Well-educated, experienced people who suddenly find themselves not able to pay their rent, not able to go to the grocery store, and those things. And that will go really, really quick, in some countries more than others. But still, a majority of the companies will survive, and for all of those companies, of course, the market situation will look very different. And there is a lot of opportunities to step forward and gain market shares if you have a strategy for it. I will also think that I will try to focus this presentation a lot on innovations, because I think that's the key word here forward. And there will be a rapid need for strong product innovation. And that goes very well together with the next point, which is opportunity for sustainable quality. There is a good Finnish expression, I think, where they say that poor people can only afford top quality. So that is, I suppose, instead of buying new shoes every year, you buy a good quality pair of shoes and then you maintain them and have them for 20 years. And I think that this crisis, connected to the climate crisis and the criticism of the consumerism, consumption society, I think we will see a need and also demand among customers for better quality products. And that could create an enormous opportunities for those who wants to go there. But it also challenge, of course, business concepts like Zara or H&M, where they have lower quality products, often new, to be replaced every second week or once a month or similar like that. Other obvious markets where we see opportunities is everything that doesn't work. The pandemic crisis also put the finger very sharply on certain areas of the society that obviously don't work good enough. The healthcare systems is the most obvious ones. Also, rich, wealthy countries in the West have obviously been now taken with their pants down when it comes to capacity of taking care of emergencies and intensive care patients. We have the banking industry, one of my favorite subjects that I've been talking for years about. An industry that deliberately by themselves are sewing off the branch that they are sitting on. They don't want to have anything to do with cash. They don't want to handle your money. They don't want to give you any interest rate. They barely want to or rarely want to loan you any money. So the question is what they should be doing in the future. They invent new different fees for us to pay without realizing why, because we are asked to do all the jobs ourselves, all the work. We go online and we move money ourselves, we put in money, we pay bills ourselves, we do everything by ourselves, and they are just inventing new fees for us. They have absolutely no contact with the customer-based market situation. And linked to the banks, we also see different companies offering saving products, pension products, affordable housing. All those areas, it's quite obvious that they are not functioning well. So there should be opportunities for anyone who are creative, have the energy to step in and say, we are going to be the first player in this area where we actually provide added value to the customers. In this situation, with all the changes that we have and all the news and the new decisions, we need to communicate better. So anyone that are mastering clear and impactful communication should also have a meaningful future. So people of my generation and older, we grew up with Kotler, and I know that he's considered to be very old-fashioned and so on. But I actually realize this year after year that the more new interpretation of his old theories that is presented, the more I go back to his original thinking and his original findings. Funny enough, the old man is still alive and has commented on this crisis, Corona crisis, this year. He must be close to 200 years old or something right now. He's talking about new consumer attitudes and new consumer behaviors as a result of this crisis. And I'm totally convinced that he's right. He also talks about a new era called post-consumerism. There, I'm not sure that he's right. I think we will move towards that, but I'm not sure that it will go particularly fast. People forget also very quickly, and we will fall back to old behavior. So it will be a little bit up and down before we actually get there. But there's no question that we will go in a different direction after this crisis. And the interesting thing with Kotler is that he brings me back to the subject of product innovation, because his first P in the old marketing mix was product, or is product. And there are few areas in most companies, I would argue, that has been more neglected than the product offer. And if you really go back to yourself and ask yourself, is your product offer unique? Is it adding value? Is it remarkably good value for money? Very few companies today can say that. We have several examples. I've already talked about the banks, so let's forget about those. But why can't traditional media compete with social media? It's still a question of media content, isn't it? Social media and media behavior, consumption has moved to another channel. But how come that the traditional media with decades or centuries of experience and resources and journalists can't compete with the new media channels? It must be something wrong. The same thing goes for retailing. Why can't physical stores compete with online shopping? It's the need for products is still there. Amazon is showing with its growth that it's possible to sell items to customers, and it's possible to do it in a different way. But why is it that we as consumers are preferring this new way of shopping instead of visiting the physical stores? Why don't people trust politicians and authorities more? Now, actually, during a crisis in many countries, the trust for politicians and authorities are going up. But that's very temporarily, and that's a typical thing that we've seen many times before, that when we are under attack, we come together and try to defend ourselves. But very shortly after this crisis now, people will start questioning, why on earth did we end up here? And the answer, I suggest, is because the products are not good enough anymore. Most companies have failed to develop their product offer in the same pace as the customers have developed themselves. And if we look into retailing especially, but this goes also for all companies, what is it that consumer wants? Better living standards, good products, reasonable prices, personal and knowledgeable service, nice stores and social encounters, fun and informative communication. And what was it that retailers used to offer? Exactly that. Achievable dreams, new exciting products, new exciting deals, personal and knowledgeable service, nice stores and social encounters, fun and informative communication. And how does it look today? This is where retail has taken their own business. It is totally driven by supply and logistics. And I should point out from the beginning that supply and logistics are incredibly important parts of any business today. So this is not a session of dissing or talking bad about those things. They need to be there, and they need to be ultra efficient and very good. But the problem is that they should never be allowed to set the agenda. The agenda must be driven by a deep insight to consumers, an intimate understanding of consumers and customers, what they want and what they need. So otherwise, we will be focusing on volumes, sales, everyday discounts. We force the customers to do everything themselves. We take away the well-informed, competent staff in beautiful uniforms and replace them with cheap school kids working extra with t-shirts. We offer automated phone system services that drives people mad, including ridiculous promotions in the middle of when you are calling to complain about something, just to piss people off. So I wonder really why physical retailers are meeting this new online competition by taking away all the USPs that they had: qualified, competent staff, physical, nice environments, located in A positions, all those things that are their unique selling propositions that they could compete with online. They are cutting down, they are closing half of the checkouts, creating long queues and those things. It's madness. On the other hand, very many opportunities to sort this out. So there is a mismatch. I know I'm running out of time, but I was a little bit delayed. I will try to catch up now. So there is a mismatch between what consumers want and need and what retailers offers today. Consumers are pretty much still there where they have always been. They want good stuff for good prices and good service. Retailers are totally ignoring this and start their perspective by looking into share of wallet. How could we deliver as much as possible, as cheap as possible? How can we slim down and mainstream our product offer so that it becomes easier to handle logistically, and various kind of price levels and special offers depending on if you are picking up the items yourself or if they should be delivered, or if valid only on even Wednesdays when there is a full moon and whatever. And those stupid automated brand damaging phone systems where you are supposed to put in your social security number and with the pound key so that they can give you better service. When you finally get through the queue, they ask for your social security number because the system didn't work as good as it did on the whiteboard or when SAP was there and had it implemented with Accenture's help. There is a big mismatch where the clients, the customers just want reasonable things, and the retail industry has gone totally off. And most of those challenges actually were there before the pandemic. So we can't blame that. We can't even blame internet for that. It's just complacency or stupidity that has led many companies to where they are, and neglecting their product offer, their basic product offer. We can skip this. It's just pointing out that research now shows that certain things quite expectedly is growing during the pandemic and other things are shrinking. And that leads us again into the innovation, the need of working on your product offer. And I see that there are two possible roads forward here. You could either go back, like when you get lost in the woods, you go backwards until you recognize yourself, and then you can start over again. Retailers and many companies can go back to where they used to be when things were good and where they actually managed to cater for their customers' needs and dreams. Or you could innovate a new product offer that add value and is more relevant than the competitors to a generation of consumers today. That's the two possible roads forward. There are also some things that most companies should stop doing immediately, according to me. Stop letting supply and logistics drive your customer experience. Customer experience, CX. Most companies have even hired customer experience managers and create customer experience departments, but they still let supply and logistics drive the agenda, meaning that we are not starting from what the customers want and need and dream about. Stop chasing costs that damage your customer experience. Restaurants wants to save a few $1,000s a year on laundry costs by taking away the cloths from the table. What does it do for the customer experience? Does the customer experience becomes any different if you visit a plastic table without the tablecloth or one with? Stop selling crap products that piss people and the planet off. Stop automated brand damaging phone services that I've been talking about. Stop the media pollution. Be quiet if you don't have any relevant, pleasant to communicate. And stop cutting down on product development and staff trainings. So when we look at Miss Linda Vision's quote from 2040, 20 years ahead from now, are we then going to say, shit, this is embarrassing. Why did we do what we did? Or will we say, we are already there. We have figured this out way before 2040, and we know what to do. So start using digital and new technology to drive a customer-centric, sustainable customer experience, and stop letting supply chain and logistics drive your agenda. Thank you. I will now try to be open for chat for those who want, if I can. Yeah, here I am. So I will mute myself so you don't need to listen to my voice anymore.